Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Hi, my name is Darius, and it's great to be here. I'm very humbled to share the stage with so many great speakers. I think the only reason I'm invited is I'm willing to fly all the way from Singapore to speak about Asia. So tell you a bit about myself. I started a company. Hello. Oh, Kyle, you're in trouble. All right, can't seem to get this to work. Well, my name is Darius, and I started a company called Wave Secure, and we were based in Singapore, and we were acquired 2 years ago by McAfee, so I think it was kind of interesting. We were trying to build a Silicon Valley type of company. Sorry, it must be my bad. I'm bad with technology, I'm sorry. We were acquired by McAfee, which is now Intel, of course. I'm a founder of a new project called BillPin. We're launching our beta next week. It's really for friends to split group expenses and keep a tab with each other so you don't have to deal with cash. And I'm also a bit of angel investor, a couple of companies, Silicon Valley. I invest through 2 early stage funds in Southeast Asia, as well as a couple of direct investments as well. So I was invited to talk about what could Asia possibly offer for Silicon Valley and what lessons we learned that could be useful for the audience here, the entrepreneurs. But it's a hard topic. It's a tall order. Ron Conway says that every 3 months, $1 billion company is born in US, and it's most likely going to be in Silicon Valley, and that has been true so far. So it's really hard to find any other ecosystem anywhere on Earth that has that kind of productivity. So I'm trying very hard to come up with what could possibly, what Asia could possibly offer. And the first thing that came to mind was perhaps that you could evade taxes, right? This is perhaps the last time you've heard of a Singapore, right? Or if you are, other than evading taxes, you could evade perhaps a law. No, but jokes aside, I do want to see if I can try to offer something valuable to you. The first thing I'm going to talk about is blind spot opportunities. What does that mean? Anybody here watches Korean drama? Okay, 2. Not bad in a crowd of 200 maybe. So anybody thinks there's a market for Korean drama in Arabic subtitles? Not really, right? It's kind of strange. But apparently it is. So a company based in Singapore, it's called Viki. They actually have 1 billion video views today in 150 languages. This is all completely crowdsourced subtitling by communities. So somebody in Arabia who knows Korean would translate that into subtitles for their community, and with 200 million words translated. So this is a video platform that provides Korean dramas, Hong Kong TV, Bollywood, and all sorts of different alternative content in subtitled languages. So and we were very lucky to be one of the early investors in them, along with 100 startups. They have gone on to raise another $25 million from tier 1 VCs and doing quite well. But this is what I meant by a blind spot opportunity. This could easily be a game that, for example, YouTube or Hulu can play and could dominate. More importantly, this could be, for example, an opportunity that other video startups in the Bay Area could have spotted and really focused on. And they may have won this battle and done it better than Viki. But somehow it wasn't seen. And this could be possibly a blind spot because of cultural differences. And I can give you more and more examples. PicCollage, which is kind of a Silicon Valley / Taiwanese company, they make this collage. They made an app that lets users make these collages. There's 17 million users and top 10 iOS app in 51 countries. For some reason, they spotted this before anybody else did, and it's probably because Asian girls love collages, and it's kind of a weird thing. I don't get it, but people like it. So, and this is a fast-growing example, Otaku in Japan. They have 10 million Facebook fans, and now they've just launched their Android app to help turn your photos, like Instagram, into manga or anime. Right? Instagram, you've got filters. It's just the same thing. You do it with anime. It's a kind of alternative community, but manga and anime is big. There's a very, very big community out there who love this shit. Sorry, pardon my French. These are opportunities that could easily be overlooked because if you're completely living 100% in American culture, you might just not notice how big this could actually be. So this is kind of the first point about perhaps there are blind spot opportunities that you're missing out. The second thing is what we learned in Singapore is it gets real very quickly. There's a very, very big gap in Series A funding. So typically we raise not more than $1 million, and that's about it for us. We kind of have to figure out what to do next from there. And the example I want to use to illustrate is actually a company called Zobim. It's ran by a friend of mine. The CEO, the founder is actually in the audience right now. They're kind of live chat company, a little bubble on the right. On the website, you click, you open, you chat with the business owner. The business owner could close a sale, do support, and all sorts of things. And they have 70,000 customers today, 200 million uniques, and 1.4 billion page views. This is across all their customers, of course. And at least by one measure, they are probably the world's, the blue line is Zobim, so at least by one measure, the world's biggest live chat provider for small businesses. And what is interesting is that their counterpart in Silicon Valley, the direct competitor, is a company called Olak, which is a YC alumni. They were actually started at the same time, around 2008, but actually Zobim has a very depressing first 2 years when their competitor like Olak were getting TechCrunch coverage and customers and brand name customers from Silicon Valley. They had a very depressing first 2 years, but somehow they did something right in the last 2 years and they kind of took off. At least by one measure, they were bigger than Olak right now. So I wanted to find out what was it that they did that made that happen, and how do you build a Silicon Valley company better than Silicon Valley can out from somewhere else. And what the journey was like, they actually took a total of $250,000 funding. Until today, they actually have bought out all the investors. It's so profitable they actually bought out all the investors. And for the first 2 years, their burn rate was only $3,000. And they were supporting four headcounts, which is 3 engineers and 1 sales. And they currently employ 26 people. But what was interesting is ask them what made them different. And what turns out was that, number one, from day one, because they were not living in a Silicon Valley bubble, they speculate at least, they did not have tech-savvy customers. They had to target people who did not understand technology. And as a result, they were building features that, in the end, could scale better to other markets that were not tech-savvy, that were not like Silicon Valley. And they were building, for example, dashboards that the business owners could use instead of APIs for other people to integrate into. So that could be something that it could be a lesson that could be interesting. And the second thing is that they got real very quickly. They raised $250,000, and that was all the money they could raise. And the result is they have to get profitable by the end of that. And the team and the company and the business model were tested very early on. So they had to really rush to get there. And as well as the last point is that they also had to optimize very early in order to use less bandwidth, less space. They didn't have money to pay for servers, right? So they have to over-optimize a lot of things. And in the end, the result is that they end up writing code that's probably more optimized, scalable, and cheap. So these are just some of the differences that they did that could possibly let them have come to a scale better in the long run. So, and just from our own journey, as another example as well, with WaveSecure, we raised about $1.2 million in total. At the time of acquisition in 2010, in Q4, we have a user base of 500,000. We were burning about $30,000, and we had a running business model, which we partnered with carriers and OEMs to distribute it, as well as and directly purchase from the App Store, and we were profitable by then. Our Silicon Valley counterpart, which is Lookout, and by 2010, they will raise $17 million, and since then, they've raised another $60, $80 million, depending on which report you read. At that time, they have 1 million user base, and actually now a lot more, and they're probably still number one in the market. They were number one then. And at that time, they were burning about $1 million, and the product was completely free, and they were probably not profitable since they were not making any money. So this is kind of interesting because we couldn't understand this. This is a Silicon Valley thing. I don't think anywhere else we can see this. And Lookout could possibly become a billion-dollar company, which I congratulate them. This is very successful. And they have tier one VCs like Andreessen Horowitz and so on. But what is interesting to me is to think about what the difference is. And not every company is a billion-dollar company. Not every startup aims to be a billion-dollar company. And sometimes it is healthy to really get real very quickly to find out how to be ramen profitable, at least for one. And companies like us could at least survive the Series A crunches going on right now. And in some cases, that's healthy. So the second lesson we learned, for better or worse, On the other hand, of course, it could possibly stifle growth that should growth, right? So, but for better or worse, we learned to get real very quickly. And I thought that could be something that could be useful for Silicon Valley companies. The last part, I just want to quickly run through, I know I'm running out of time, is to discover the new world. Well, you don't need me to tell you this, you already know this, but I thought it's useful to revise it. There are 350 million people in North America, but there's 1.4 billion in China, 1.2 billion in India, 600 million in Southeast Asia, 600 million in Latin America, of which, just as a point of interest, 200 million in Brazil, and who speaks Portuguese, and 370 million in the rest of Latin America, which is a very unified Spanish culture and language. So these are very, very big markets out there, and they're hardly tapped on. What is more interesting, if you look at the GDP per capita, just looking at the Asian countries, there are two things. One is the absolute number. I think the number is a little deceiving. If you look at Malaysia, it might look like it's about 20% of US, and China maybe 10%, Thailand maybe 10%. This is a proxy to the purchasing power of the country. But what is interesting about that is that there is actually a very, very big income disparity between the population. So the people in the city actually have 3-4 times what it is on this chart. And we're definitely starting to see iPhones and very top-end Android phones and money spent on apps and other things going on in a lot of the cities. And they're very big populations. The other interesting is to look at the growth rate. North America is growing at 1% GDP per capita over the last 4 years on average. And the rest of Asia is growing anywhere between 6 to 16%. And we all know the impacts of a growth economy and the kind of spending power that brings. So to illustrate what that means is that WhatsApp is clearly the leader in instant messaging on mobile. There's 300 million users. WeChat from China belongs to Tencent. They have 300 million users. What is interesting is that they added 100 million of those in the last 4 years. That's the last 4 months. And Line from Japan has 100 million users. Another interesting point, a lot of those, and for WeChat as well, a lot of their users are actually not in their home country. They've become a very global company. Line, for example, of the 100 million, 10 million of those are in Thailand. And bringing it back to the earlier point, what makes them different? And why do they do well in this that WhatsApp couldn't do? Why wasn't WhatsApp capturing that? This is a typical WhatsApp screenshot. People texting. Everybody knows that. This is what WeChat looks like. As you can see, there's no text at all. This is a typical screenshot. This is, in fact, my own screenshot. People are voice texting each other. These are recorded voices. And why is that important? It's because there are many, many cultures whereby it really sucks to type. And there are a large population don't know how to type. My mother doesn't know how to input a word into a phone. So you simply turn on the app and you press hold to talk and you record your voice and you send it across. And this is applicable for Chinese culture, for Thai culture, for many cultures, that this is an important feature. And Line, on the other hand, it's kind of a Japanese thing maybe. It's very cartoonish and animations and GIFs and all these things. Their demographic is younger and it's across Asia. But what is interesting is also what it enables as a business model. They sell this little animation as stickers, and actually last year, they do about $2 million a month in sales. It was just the stickers. So that's kind of interesting as what business model it enables. And this is a very simple business model enabled through the App Store. You pay through the App Store. An American company could have done it. And that's the other thing. The other thing is, if you don't go and discover these markets and conquer these markets, the barbarians are already at the gate. If you don't do it, somebody will. And they might even come to your market at your doorstep to conquer your market. Rocket Internet, for example, as you know, that's a clone company. There's 38 companies across 58 countries. They clone everything from Airbnb to Zappos to Birchbox all the way to Grubhub. And I can guarantee you that every market they are in, there is a smaller local startup that's trying to do exactly the same thing. The world has become a lot flatter, and it moves a lot faster. The moment the idea appears on TechCrunch or Hacker News, you can be sure somebody's trying to copy it somewhere else. So if you want to be a global company, and not every company wants to be a global company, but if you do want to be a global company, the speed at which you need to do it is a lot faster today, and which is why I encourage you to think about the world as a market. So here are the 3 things. Hope that was useful to you. To bring it back, Silicon Valley, as I was saying, is a magical place. There is no other place on earth like Silicon Valley. And the billion-dollar companies will continue to come out of Silicon Valley. But what is interesting is that it's been the center of power for so long. Is it time to think about, perhaps, it's an opportunity to go out to bring your talent and your skill sets and your network, and you could do much more out there than in here. And what is the opportunity? And is there a new Columbus who will find the new world who is emerging now? So I'll leave you with that. Thanks.